Hello, back again with another blue review video after a while. I thought, what the hell? So I'm just gonna do some random blue review in here. Nothing in depth, just some things I've been watching lately, and may or may not be of interest. But we shall see. Maybe throw a few news and views in there with the reviews. Um, so this past week I was checking out last year at MARIENBAD, Alain Resnais, 1961, I think. Um, Credited as being kind of one of the most influential movies of all time. The techniques used in it and the vibe of it, the atmosphere, have influenced countless filmmakers, especially Peter Greenaway. He said that every film he makes is not so much an attempt to, uh, not so much influenced by last year, but an attempt to remake it. So he nabbed the cinematographer from last year, Sasha Vierny, and for all of his later movies, Greenaways, and so he managed to get a good bit of that look and that feel, albeit in color. This one's in black and white, and last year at Marienbad, and it was interesting when I posted about it. It's different, different views about it. Some people think it's like a timeless masterpiece. It's can't, just completely unimpeachable, and then some people think it's kind of dull, albeit pretty to look at. So that's kind of the spectrum that I'm getting. My personal feeling is it's like an ambient movie. I mean, like there's ambient music. Um, it's like I can put it on and hear that narration and the organ music and see the camera going through this massive mansion. It's like a castle, and it just has a feeling that it kind of envelops you. Uh, does it have a plot or a story? Well, I don't know if that's really all that important, but it has to do with memory and how we perceive things, memory and perception. And of course, there's a romanticism to it. It's a little cold and austere romanticism, but it's a romanticism nonetheless. Um, Delphine Seyrig plays the what's her name? A, just the letter A. They're never called these letters in the movie, but they don't have any names in the movie. But I'm going by the script. Script by Alain Robrier. So two Alains had something to do with this. Robrier at that time was trying to get himself going from a novelist to becoming a full-time film director himself, and he did direct his first film as this thing was in was in post production. It was probably a very rich production, but um, so Robrier and Renee have apparently had a bit of a divided opinion. Well, at first they were in accord, in Congress when they met, and then by the time the film was in post and it came out, they were house divided against itself. So, the Rubgrave did not like his very detailed, very specific script compromised in any way. I mean, he didn't mind some of it being compromised, but he wasn't happy with all of Renee's decisions, put it that way. I've got to say that if you come to this movie cold, like, you haven't seen any Renee movies, or which I've only seen a handful, Night and Fog and Hiroshima Mon Amour. I have that one on Blu-ray, Criterion also, and I think that's about it. Robbe-Grillet, I've read a couple of his novels, and I've seen most of his movies at least once. There's a few I'm still a few gaps in there. My favorite one is Eden and After. I just adore that movie, and Trans Europe Express is great, and L'Immortelle, and Successive Slidings of Pleasure. He just has some amazing titles. He's somebody I want to collect on Blu-ray because his films always look great, and they're very enigmatic and inscrutable. Qualities I tend to like, as you can probably tell from my Twin Peaks coverage. So yeah, if you're coming to this thing cold and not really knowing, a lot about it, I think it does function as kind of an ambient movie. It does function as it creates an atmosphere, an environment uh, with archetypes, and I think that might be the best way to approach it. And you can just approach it as pure cinema from there, um, without getting into what's happening or if anything's happening. It could be nothing happening. To me, it's just fascinating the way it's all captured and, peerlessly. So, it's basically a gathering of rich folk in Marienbad and a town that no longer exists. And, um, our main character, X, he's sort of our main character. He is in love with A, Delphine, and he's not sure. He keeps remembering that he saw her last year at Marienbad. Um, so the chateau or whatever they're in, um, it could be there he met her. It could be somewhere else in another country. His memory's weird, and then there's parts of her memory that are strange, including one of her dying. But then, she didn't die. But it seems as though she died, and that was one of his memories or her memories. But I think it's kind of a classic. It took me many years to finally see this movie, and I think I bought the last year at Marienbad Criterion DVD blind in like 20, I don't know, whenever it came out, maybe like 2010, 2012, I'm not sure. And my ex-wife liked it amazingly, and most people I've shown it to are fascinated with it, even if they're bored at times, or feel dislocated from any identifiable uh, real characters. There's not much empathy in the movie, and there's not much warmth in the movie. It's like I said, it can be cold and austere, but it captures that flawlessly. So Criterion did a nice job, and I'm not Criterion. I'm sorry. This one's on Kino because Criterion did put out Last Marienbad on Blu-ray as well. Quickly went out of print, and now it's fetching some high prices on eBay. I had the DVD, and I managed to sell it for about $25, so that was good. Um, but Kino Classics, they're doing quite a few incredible art house ones. Um, I think some in association with Studio Canal, and but anyway, they put it out. They put out a Blu-ray of it, which transfers the extras. Well, most of the extras from the Criterion, not all, but I could say goodbye to a few extras to have Marienbad on Blu-ray and it look this good, um, and sound this good. One thing that might be helpful to do if you watch it again on uh, a second time on with the commentary track on by Tim Lucas, Video Watchdog fame. It's pretty helpful. I mean, he, his commentaries for Bava movies are really incredible. Kino put that whole series out too, and Lucas is the Bava expert extraordinaire on planet Earth, and he put out a movie called All the Color movie. There is a movie. He put out a book called All the Colors of the Dark. Not sure why he nicked the title of a Sergio Martino film for a Mario Bava film, but it kind of fits. But um, obviously, Bava's influence of Martino. But in any case, um, getting some strange notifications. I will try to ignore them as I carry on here for a short while. Um, but anyway, Tim is a good guide with this movie. I mean, he does give you a lot of minutiae and stuff, but that's he's wont to do. But he's not overly pedantic about it, and he really he seems relaxed. He seems like he's really honored to have his name associated with such a classic, and he should be. And congratulations to the guy. So I have a lot of Video Watchdogs issues. I'm selling all of them soon, but I have quite a lot. Um, in any case, yeah, this guy's bombarding me with notifications about whatever. Um, in any case, uh, check that one out. I moved on to um, a Serbian film. I almost hesitate to say it. I decided to watch that again. I have the cut by 1 minute, little less than a minute version, which is kind of a placeholder in my collection till I get the Unearthed Films Super Duper Deluxe Uncut one at the end of January. I probably won't even pre-order it. I'll probably just wait till it comes out to get it because I want to save some money. Uh, if anyone wants to pre-order it for me, please do. I would absolutely appreciate you forever. But a lot of people don't even want to be associated with this film, much less spend money on it. So, it's quite controversial, and I guess it's worth a little bit of discussion. It's probably worth a lot of discussion. Then again, some people think it's not worth, fill in the blank, deleted expletive of your choice. Um, there was a bit of a brouhaha on my Facebook film group a couple of months ago because I included it in my 90 days of horror movies that were the most important in my life. Now, I didn't say they were all the very best. I didn't say they were all in my top favorites. I just meant they all had an impact on me, and those were the parameters set forth for me by the lovely Ilaria Dallara. I think I'm saying her name right. She's a film just a savant in Italy. She knows everything about film. Well, okay, I'm exaggerating, but she knows way a lot. Anyway, um, she put out this kind of thing, and she went up to think 100 or 120 days, but I was thinking about doing 120 days to commemorate, 120 days of Sodom, which I did include in there in my 90, but I stopped at 90. One of the very last movies I did because I was holding it back because I knew, it would be controversial was a Serbian film, and it's from 2010. It's from Serbia, and it's a film, and but the title kind of is what the movie's about. Also, it's about the shooting of a Serbian film, a very out of control, nightmarish kind of film. Um, Probably, if you've seen this movie, you already know everything about it. You probably know all the plot. If you're a fan, you probably have fetishized it endlessly. If you're a detractor, you've probably either found out, either reacted badly from seeing it, or you've read correct and sometimes incorrect uh, versions of the taboo subject matter that it encompasses. And it's quite a field of taboos in there. But that's fine. Like I said, everything's fine today. Everything's groovy. I said that on my other videos. That's fine. I'm basically saying that, all our opinions have some weight, but some have more weight than others based on information. That's a key quality. If you don't have the information, you can't really process a real opinion on someone. You can kind of do a knee jerk thing and reactionary, and that seems to be what most people do, especially about socio-political matters. Um, but with film, yeah, it's the same way. You know, I first saw this. I read about it I can't remember how I read about it, but obviously I didn't read about it or hear about it in 2011 when it first came out on DVD here. It was about 2014. I would say maybe mid to late 2014, and there was a cut version and on sale at my work, which sold DVDs, new and used, and my then work, and I just bought it unseen. Took it to my friend Michael's, and we drank an enormous amount of vodka and had some weed, and I think that kind of nullified the effects of it. Um, we had a camaraderie. We had a great camaraderie anyway, but we had a nice camaraderie while we were watching this film. And I think, uh, without being under the influence, I think Michael, it would have been too much for him personally, um, because it was just about too much for me. And the reason I could figure that out is because I went home, and as I sobered up a little, a good bit, I guess a bit, and while my wife slept next to me, my then wife, um, I rewatched it, and I was a bit more shocked and revolted, to the point where I actually sold it back to my work. I kind of wanted to like distance myself from it for a while, and I'm thinking, how could the uncut version be even more out of control than this? I rarely do that with films. I mean, to where I don't want to own them because of how grotesque they are. There have been a handful that have had some scenes or shots that I just can't really have in my library. I won't go into what they are now, but you probably would not expect the ones I would mention. Um, but some just have this you know a grim tone that's you know hard to shake. In a Glass Cage is one. I don't think I'll ever own that one. I'll watch it one more time, but in the 1.5 times I've watched it, it's rough going. It is rough going. It is downbeat, grim, just the bleakest aspects of human behavior imaginable. Uh, Without being super graphic, but it is explicit in what it discusses and suggests. Um, but that is a tale for another time. A Serbian film is about this cat named Miloš, and the guy who plays him is actually a really good actor. Um, the whole movie is technically great, just high level, next level stuff for extreme underground horror. Um, Basically, Miloš is retired from porn. He's married. He's got a kid. If you've seen this is all you know. You can say it by rote by now, but basically he gets offered a ton of money by this egomaniacal director named Vukmire, and you know he says sign the contract, but you got to go into it blind. You can't. I want you to perform one last porn film that's just going to be the summit of art, and he kind of butters him up and flatters him, and Miloš is still pretty cynical, but the money, he offers him so much money, and you never find out the exact figure, which I think is really cool. He even whispers it to his wife in bed, almost as if he doesn't want his kid to know. Um, his marriage is happy despite his unconventional life choices, or maybe because of them, I don't know. And it's actually kind of, other than the fact he obsessively watches his own porn that he starred in, and his kid accidentally watches it sometimes. Other than those elements, it's a pretty mundane, nice domestic situation. His wife is very beautiful, so you can't say that. Well, he downgraded from these women in the porn movies. Actually, she's much more attractive and classy than the women that uh, he performs porn with in the faux porn scenes. Um, in any case, uh, he finally agrees to do this thing, even though he doesn't know what he's going to do. He's just going to take direction. It's going to be porn, and the guy tells him just to be Miloš, you know, and he praises his cock quite a bit. and to the point where some of the dialogue gets subtitled. So this is in Serbian language, Serbo-Croatian, I guess is what it's called. Um, some of the subtitles I'm reading and some of the dialogue the director says is absolutely absurd, kind of silly, and it's one of the things that people kind of snag onto when they say, it's a real overrated movie, because how could it be so powerful and so extreme if it has these silly, absurd moments in it? And I think it can do both. I mean, I don't think a movie has to have these permanent, total strictures on it that's going to dictate, it has to keep the same mood all the way through, or the unity effect theory. I mean, that works with some films. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that movie never breaks the mood. I mean, even when you have silliness like Franklin going on, uh, it's grim, it's dire, and it accelerates until it's a fever pitch at the end. So that's an example to me of a horror film that, everything is working toward that ultimate effect. And um, Serbian film is not like that. I mean, it goes off the track, blah blah blah. But I will say this though, where it is consistent is its production values and the fact that it's a slick, smoothly made movie, not commercial looking, but very much like, I mean, it looks like a studio film. Um, with resources behind it, and yet the subject matter is absolutely repellent. So just the irony of that, and the music is very interesting. Sometimes it's annoying too, but usually it's pretty good. A lot of electronic beeps and blarps going on, and some very tense kind of sound design, like a la David Lynch going on, just rumbling under the veneer of things, and it kind of builds that feeling of absolute dread, and that's what I like about it the most. Uh, is that every time I watch it, I dread what's going to happen next, even though I know what's going to happen next. I've seen this film, so I watched it cut twice. Um, then on YouTube, I found a version without subtitles that was uncut. I watched that once alone and once with a friend. She couldn't finish it though, so I stopped it. So that's like 3.5 times. And then I got the Blu-ray, and then I watched it on Blu-ray, and then I watched it again the other day on Blu-ray. So, I guess in the last 6 years, I've seen it 6 times. So that's like one time a year, which is probably way too much for most people. Um, Might be too much for me, but I will watch it when it comes out on the official uncut Blu-ray, and then I'll probably put it away for quite a while. But it's not like casual entertainment. Some people it probably is, and they're the ones you maybe should be worrying about, not the makers of this movie, because believe it or not, this film is fiction. And in the group I own on Facebook, two of the young ladies who I liked quite much, I liked them quite a bit. I'd known one for quite a while, a fellow Peaks freak, Twin Peaks freak, and the other I had been kind of semi involved with at one point, and I was shocked that they were so shocked that they, were making calls to destroy the film and this kind of thing, to where it was almost, you know, it was just talk. I mean, it's not like they're going to go out and try to, execute this plan. However, the mindset behind it is, I find that repellent personally, just censorship and telling other people that the art they consume, if it's extreme, or maybe if it's not, maybe it's of a political nature or what, something offensive and controversial, that it doesn't deserve to live. The art doesn't deserve to be preserved on film. I mean, this one young lady said that, that film shouldn't exist. It should be destroyed. Blah blah blah. And when I say blah blah blah, I mean I'm being dismissive of whatever. It's kind of like et cetera, et cetera. Um, it's not that they're saying anything of no value, but they're saying the same thing over and over again in different ways, and it's just not interesting. It's all negative energy. And so one of these young ladies, the one I'd known quite long time, blocked me in the group and on Facebook, and I and removed herself from the group. The other one Um, I had to block her because she was causing such a ruckus about it, and not only on my group, but on my own wall where I made the error of posting it, because I posted all 90 of these movies on my own profile as well. She was the only one who complained. What complained? The person I knew, really well. I thought, um, told me and told me pretty much that, me liking the movie or being into the movie at all was a deal breaker as far as us having any kind of future romantically. I mean, there are a million other deal breakers that were much more pragmatic that prevented us from pursuing a relationship beyond what we had, which was, flirtation and et cetera, and some, um, some almost, activity. And but to say that this just because I liked, not love, not worship or revere, but liked this movie or elements of this film, that was too much for her. You know, so I think the confusion that both of these young ladies had is that this is real, and it's not real. It's not a snuff movie. No one is actually raped and violated. No children are harmed. No children are even in the same shots as grotesque activity, even if it's intercut with reaction shots to make it seem as though they are. They weren't on set. And, you know, that's the skill of a filmmaker. I mean, this guy came out of nowhere. I'd like to see what he does next. I'd hope he'd have a script that does have a little more substance and meat to it. Well, it probably will have a lot of dead meat, cold meat in it. Um, I forgot what project I read he's working on, but I'd like to see it when it comes out and judge for myself. And that's really all any of us can do is judge for ourselves. I mean, we can prejudge, but you know, it's not going to help further any meaningful dialogue. I mean, you can ignore something because you feel like it's not to your taste or it just doesn't interest you. I mean, I'm kind of that way with sports. It just doesn't interest me whatsoever. Um, I don't say it shouldn't exist, blah blah blah. To a fan, I did it again. Sorry. I don't say that to its fans or really much at all. I mean, I don't personally like it. I could weigh in against it if I wanted to, but what's the point? I mean, there's no, I mean, I'm not an aficionado. I really am not of that world whatsoever. So how can I sit and try to condemn something? Now, in the case of a Serbian film, yes, people who like film and or horror film and or somewhat extreme film and or regular whatever regular is to your personal taste, porn, um, would find something disturbing. It disturbs me because it combines porn and violence, not real porn, simulated softcore porn with extreme violence, and it is rendered in a really cold way and a very real way because it's very well shot, um, and some of it is absurd, it's over the top, but some of it will catch your attention. There's at least a couple of scenes that I think will disturb anyone. Some scenes disturb people by the nature of what the scene is about rather than what they actually see on the screen. And there's one in particular, I won't say what it is, but I'm sure someone in the comments could tell me. There's one thing that happens in the movie that everyone is repulsed by. I mean, I find it repulsive, but I don't pretend like I saw it actually happen on screen. And it was alluded to and cut in such a way that there's building up to that, but it doesn't actually happen. It doesn't actually manifest. So again, you're tricked into thinking you saw more than you did, which good horror filmmakers do. I mean, Romero and Hooper are great examples of that kind of thing. Um, Texas Chainsaw is a great example of that too. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a great example of about 100 horror movie tropes and classic modes. But anyway, so I'm going to look forward to if I can afford it, getting the upgrade, and I'll sell or give away this this cut version. I'm sure somebody, it'll be their first time watching it. I call corrupt someone's life for all eternity. But anyway, I just had some thoughts, and you know, I think it's a solid movie. I think it's kind of distasteful, uh, and yet it has a certain allure, a certain pull to it because it is distasteful. Maybe I'm not sure. Uh, I am not an extreme horror fanatic, but I'll watch just about anything that I'm curious about. Um, doesn't mean I like it. Doesn't mean I endorse the plot activity in it. And people insinuating that other people do that is the absolute height of irresponsible absurdity. I have spoken. All right, I'm gonna go, and that was fun. We'll I'll do another one soon. Bye. Take care.